उषन्ह वै वाजश्रवसः सर्ववेदसं ददौ तस्य ह नचिकेता नाम पुत्र आस तं ह कुमारं सन्तं दक्षिणासु नीयमानाशु श्रद्धा विवेश सोमन्यत पीतोदका जग्धतृणा दुग्धदोहानिरिन्द्रियाः अनन्दानाम ते लोकास्तान् स गच्छति ताददत स होवाच पितरं तत कस्मै मां दास्यसीति द्वितीयं तृतीयं तं होवाच भृत्यवेत्वा ददामीति बहूनामेमि प्रथमः बहूनामेमि मध्यमः किं स्विद्यमस्य कर्तव्यं यन्मयाद्य करिष्यति अनुपश्य यथा पूर्वे प्रतिपश्य तथा परे सस्यमिव मर्त्यः पच्यते सस्यमिवाजायते पुनः वैश्वानरः प्रविशत्यतिथिर्ब्राह्मणो गृहान् तस्येतां शान्तिं कुर्वन्ति हरवैवस्वतोदकम् आशाप्रतीक्षे सङ्गतं सूनृताञ्च इष्टापूर्ते पुत्रपशूंश्च सर्वान् एतद्वृङ्क्ते पुरुषस्याल्पमेधसः यस्यानश्नन् वसति ब्राह्मणो गृहे तिस्रो रात्रिर्यदवात्सिर्गृहे मे नश्नन् ब्रह्मन्नतिथिर्नमस्यः नमस्तेऽस्तु ब्रह्मन् स्वस्ति मेऽस्तु तस्मात्प्रतित्रीन् वरान् वृणीष्व शान्तसङ्कल्पः सुमना यथा स्यात् वीतमन्युर्गौतमो माभिमृत्यो त्वत्प्रसृष्टं माभिवदेत्प्रतीत एतत्त्रयाणां प्रथमं वरं वृणे
Hari Om. So the fourth mantra that we last covered Nachiketa goes up to his father, to whom wilt thou give me? Out of concern for his father's act of doing a miserable dakshina, he said, why don't you replace me? I'm much better than them. And he repeats the second and the third time. The father, out of sheer despair and unable to tolerate the nuisance of his son, he says, unto death I give thee. Vrityeva tvami dadami. Obviously, he didn't intend or mean to say so, but it was a mere outburst of annoyance. He was very annoyed with Nachiketa. So let's take up the next mantra. Mantra 5, please.
बहूनामेमि प्रथमः बहूनामेमि मध्यमः मध्यमः किं स्विद्यमस्य कर्तव्यं यन्मयाद्य करिष्यते
bahunamemi prathamah, bahunamemi madhyamah. Among many, I am the first. Among many, I am the mediocre. What undertaking indeed would Yama accomplish through me? So these are the thoughts that is going on in his mind. Some mantras are a dialogue where Nachiketa tells to his father. Some mantras in the story, some mantras are his father talking. Some mantras are an inner soliloquy. So in this mantra, what are the thoughts that is going on in Nachiketa's mind? So he says, among many, I am the first. Among many, I am the mediocre. I am the prathamaha. I am a madhyamaha. So he objectively, Nachiketa tells to himself that I am a well-qualified son. I am a well-qualified student, a shishya, which the story, as we know so far, reveals of the noble virtues of Nachiketa, how qualified Nachiketa was. He had the shraddha in understanding the context of the shastras. He understood he had the shraddha of understanding the Vedic rituals. He was very mature as a son. He had enormous concern for his father, his maturity to be able to sacrifice himself for his words of father. So there is a picture that is being painted of how mature Nachiketa was. So when he tells I am first or I am the mediocre, it justifies that he was one of the a top class student, or he was truly an adhikari, as we say. In fact, since we talk of this in the shastras, there's a mention of students can be of three calibers, three types: the best, mediocre, and the worst. Now, who is a best student? Who is an ideal student? In the context, I'm saying, even before the teacher or the guru explicitly expresses his intention or his concern, the student is so sharp, the student is so acutely intelligent enough, and he understands and infers what the guru wants, what the guru needs, what the guru's perspective, what is his thoughts. He's able to align himself to the guru. The guru doesn't have to say anything. He's able to align, he's able to anticipate, he is able to intelligently adapt. And as a true shishya, he's able to fulfill whatever the guru's intentions are. So even before what the guru wants, it is done. A very obedient student, a very sharp student. He's able to attune to the guru. He's able to align to the guru. And I'm reminded of an episode of which my guru shared with us, of his time with his guru. You know, when my guru started, when Swamiji went to Chinmayananji, he was rejected. So because he was a grihastha, and he went in as a driver, as a personal driver. He put an application to driver to Swamiji, to Chinmayananji, Gurudev, and he was accepted as a driver. Later on, he became the pradhan, since he was managing the Powai ashram those days. Now, as I said, he used to drive Chinmayananji to lectures and bring him back. So usually after lectures, the story goes, what he narrated to us, I'm just giving gist of it. He used to take to a bhiksha, means somebody, some family would have invited him. And Powai is a good 45 minutes are outskirts of Mumbai. So typically the lectures are somewhere in Mumbai, have the evening lectures, go for prasad, and by the time they're driving back, it's almost late into the night. And he used to see his Guruji used to be dozing off in the seat, and used to be falling off. He's driving, Swami is driving, and his Guru, having had a long day, he's dozing off. And he noted this, and they had perhaps a big van. So what he did, he removed the seats behind, and he had converted that into a bed where Gurudev could actually lie. He could actually go to bed, go to sleep. And all of this was done without a word being told, without being requested or asked for. It was done. And it was ready. And one of the evenings when they were parting from a family after leaving, after having prasad, the behind door was left open, and Swamiji got into the backside, and he found himself the bed, and he got seated. And the hosts there were quite happy to see Swamiji. Oh, you have got a wonderful bed, sleeping. You can comfortably sleep now. He said, yes, I've got a comfortable bed. The story goes, they drove back. Not a word was mentioned by Gurudev. Not a word was clarified by the Shishya. I'm often reminded of this example. I don't know, maybe I've heard 20 odd years ago or 25 years ago, how a student can anticipate the need of the Guru and made available for him without a word, without a acknowledgement. And nor was there an acknowledgement by the Guru to the Shishya, nor was there a pat required from the Guru. Nothing. It is just understood. So when Nachiketa says, I am the first, it talks about how, to what extent can a Shishya align to the Guru to serve. Objective is to serve. So the best Shishya are very obedient. The mediocre category, when they are told by the Guru, when instructed by the Guru, they will accomplish it. Whatever is told to be executed, they'll do it. That's all. They'll not go 1 inch effort more, 1 inch effort less. What is told, they'll do. That they are the mediocre. The worst you don't have to mention. They would do neither of the above. They would not take the initiative, nor would they accomplish what is being told. They just keep taking and receiving from the Guru. They are the receivers. They are not the givers. So when Nachiketa says, I am the first and the mediocre, perhaps this is just an intelligent guess by an interpreter. That's what a job of someone like me who is trying to study and understand the text, bring it to interpret what these words mean. So when he says, what is the quality of a student? So here he says, I am someone of the highest order, he says. What undertaking? So Nachiketa is thinking to himself, what work my father would have had with Lord Yama? Why is he sending me to Yama? What unaccomplished work my father would want to accomplish through me by giving me to Lord of Death as Dakshina? Means I will be Lord Yama's servant. What would he want to fulfill? These are all the kind of thoughts or doubts that are going on in his mind. So having exiled by his father, he's already been dismissed by his father. You go to death. Having exiled by his father, Nachiketa is actually pondering, and he's digesting what are the consequences, what are the circumstances he will be in. That's all. As I said, these are the stories. You start inferring these things. Okay, so this is what is said. Am I the first? I am the first. I am the mediocre. What undertaking indeed? Kartavyam. What is my duty to Lord Yama?
अनुपश्य यथा पूर्वे प्रतिपश्य तथा परे सस्यमिव मर्त्यः पच्यते सस्यमिवाजायते पुनः
Anupashya yatha purve. This is directly addressed by the son to the father. Anupashya. Anupashya means remember. Yatha purve. Purve, our forefathers. Remember our father, how our forefathers have acted. It's unbecoming of you to be behaving like this when our forefathers were of a different cadre. What were they? They were givers. They were true givers. How are you? What are you doing? Look at the conviction. Look at the tone with which the son is telling the father. A 9-year-old boy telling his father, remember how our forefathers acted. Purve, consider also how others now act. Means men of wisdom, how do they conduct themselves? No, you don't. It's unbecoming of you to behave like that. And then he says, Sasyamiva. Sasyamiva iva means like corn, martyaha, mortal, pachate, decays, like corn decays and dies. And again, like corn is born again. So a very short, though there's a philosophical extent, content is less, but there is an implication because there's a story, the prelude. So directly addressed to his father by the son. Now, the message contained here perhaps is the essence of Sanatana Dharma. What we learn in the essential truths, the concept or the philosophy of rebirth is being mentioned here. As you and I understand, the philosophy or the concept of rebirth is based on what is the law which supports the theory of reincarnation. It's a theory. And what is the law which supports the theory of reincarnation? The law which supports the theory of reincarnation is the law of causation, the law of causation which presents the two laws, the law of destiny and the law of karma. So the theory of reincarnation is based on this. Law of destiny, as you know, connects the present to the past. It says that the present existence is not an accidental happening. Whatever is happening in your life now is not an accident. It is but a continuous chain of life connecting the dead past. So law of destiny says your present life or present happening is not an accident, but a beautiful chain connecting the past which is dead, which you may not know. And the law of karma extends it to the unborn future. So it's like a chain. The law of destiny connects the dead past to the present to the unborn future. And the law of causation covers the past, present, future. So the present happening is not an accident. If we are able to accept that, half the problems, half the worries are gone. In fact, 95%, 99% worries are gone. if we were to accept that the present is not an accident, how do we say that? How do we say that 99% of your problems are gone if you accept that the present is not an accidental happening? SR, can you throw light on that statement? What you understand of that? Don't tell me it's your statement, you throw light. Huh?
Because, Pranam Guruji.
Yes, sir. Mushka.
Because it is defined our actions. No, Guruji. The actions are one which is giving the results, and what actions you carried out is the one which is presently we are going through.
So it is not by accident.
Not by
It is
accident.
not. So when you say an accident, what is the implication?
Accident is something unexpected which was not in your control, and it has been defined by the environmental impact. But that was not the case here.
So accident means it is unexpected or something which is out of your control or something which was not intended or not planned for. So the present experiences are not an accidental happening. It is perfectly choreographed, perfectly directed and produced. It's just that we don't know who is the producer, who is the director. You just seem to be the actor. Who is the producer, who is the director, who is the actor, sir?
We only do. Anybody
We.
else?
I am the producer, I am the director, I am the actor, I am the viewer, I am the publisher, I am everything.
I'm the sufferer.
No, publisher. When I say sufferer, means I am the experiencer. I am the one going through everything.
The sufferer of experience, whether it is good or bad.
Yeah, I am the experiencer.
The experiencer.
So I am everything. So it is not an accident. It's not somebody is doing something, it's not somebody is directing, it's not I am becoming a victim of somebody's actions. It is not that. And if we understand that, I tell you, all our problems, all our concerns settle, all come to all the dust settles. There's nothing in thin air, you know.
In term, we become more powerful, Guruji, in term, because we don't blame, there is no option for blaming someone.
Absolutely.
So we will be taking the accountability and responsibility for everything. So that's very clears you how to drive your own vehicle. So there
Absolutely.
is no talking about
one truly becomes a master, isn't it? Nothing is happening without a reason. Everything happens because of our own happening, our own making.
Yes.
Very, very powerful thought. And this is the most potent concept in Sanatana Dharma. And the beauty is he extends it to the next Janma by comparing it to a corn. Like corn decay and die, they'll be born again. So he's talking about the procession of life, what life passes through these phases. So there is bound to be decay, there's bound to be death, bound to be birth. And the same thing carries on. So look at the conviction with which Nachiketa talks, even before he has gone to receive the knowledge from the Guru. What is his maturity? That's where we are trying to understand the stature of a student here. The Guru doesn't come into the picture yet.
Yes.
Right, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Inaji?
To answer your question, Guruji, I would say that there is no such thing as luck or coincidence.
Why so?
So that puts direction on the sentence you said that whatever is happening to us is inevitable. Because with the introduction of the concept of luck or coincidence, one finds an avenue of blame. This must be bad luck or this must be good luck. Whereas when those two concepts of coincidence and luck are abolished, then taking ownership of anything and everything that happens falls onto only one destination, me, myself.
And to have that wisdom at every stage of your life, at every phase of your life, requires a lot of conviction. I think in the Bhagavad Gita classes, we were talking about how people resort to unknown factors. You know, they go to soothsayers, palmists, and all sorts of external factors, believing that they somehow condition or influence your life. Or we pray God to be kind to me, or bless me. Well, no doubt it is always right to have that bhavana, that feeling of being surrendering, but still, God, how can God be kind to you and unkind to me? That doesn't exist in the dictionary of God. It's my own selfishness to say, please, God bless me. It's like a plant. Sinaji, you should tell this. It's like a plant in the forest says, oh, sunlight, why are you being favoring to the rest of the forest? Why can't you give me sunlight so that I shine and grow? Does it make any sense, Sinaji, if a plant were to appeal to that providence to say, please provide me enough oxygen, please provide me enough nourishment so that I will grow? Oh, plants don't need oxygen. No? What do they need? Sorry?
They give oxygen. They need
Correct,
carbon
sir.
dioxide.
Correct. Please give me some carbon dioxide. Imagine a plant saying that. You and I would laugh at it, isn't it? Like that, if I were to start pleading the Lord to take care of my worries and my problems in my life, come on. God is laughing at us. Yes, sir.
So, Guruji, I have a question on this topic. Then how do you explain the highly evolved and scientific in Indian astrology? And this thought, of course, was sparked when you talk about soothsayers and fortune tellers. The Indian astrology is science-based. So how does that interface with there is no coincidence and luck, and we have to take responsibility for all our actions because we are merely actors in scenes which we have to act out due to our past?
I think we were mentioning, I will not dwell in detail, but we were mentioning in the other satsang that Vedanta or Sanatana Dharma, which is the philosophical essence of the Vedas, they denounce the other lower angas, or lower branches of other schools of thought of the same Vedas. So they denounce it because it doesn't fit into the highest rationale and thought. But however, they found a relevance perhaps just to draw people to surrendering something higher, just so that you start appreciating that there is a greater role. But to believe that that alone would determine and define your life and your future is to surrender your liberty and to become slaves. That is not the objective of any school of thought. So the Vedanta, which is contained in the Upanishads, which are the highest sections of the Vedas, denounce the lower schools of thought. And that's an accepted norm. So therefore, we go to the highest school of thought and follow what they say, which is the Upanishads, which is the essence of Vedas. So therefore, one would not go wrong. But we also said that there is no need to be dismissive but rather lend your ears, but ultimately understand it's your own actions that would mold your future. But if they could be contributory factors, if something is conducive, for example, I'm able to think and make sense because I'm sitting in a conducive environment. I'm not sitting in an environment which is disturbing me. Though I am able to think clearly because of my intellect, but the conducive factors make it possible that I'm able to think clearly. Imagine somebody is digging a rig next to me here, and the amount of sound and disturbance, it's not going to lend its charm. So, if you were to believe that the stars and planets or the streaks in your palm are perhaps favorable or unfavorable, perhaps you do this. So, just give you that psychological edge. Do that if you can, but believe that you have to do your karma. Did we not speak of it? What is the role of God in one's happening? What is your role vis-a-vis what is the ideal role? The three standpoints we spoke, isn't it? I think we spoke in the last satsang, in the Gita satsang. Anybody recalls? Ushama, you recall UK?
Not very clearly, Guruji.
Okay.
You have mentioned, yes.
Right. So, Raji, I will recommend you to listen to last satsang. The Gita satsang of last week, you should listen, but I'll mention it briefly. One stance of people is they believe the God does everything. So they keep praying, Praying, Pray. They keep praying to the Lord, hoping that God will make things happen for them. So they don't do anything. That's tamas. The second type of people are praying, Preying. They keep rajasically running around and say, I am the architect. My job is to make it happen. And they keep devouring and they keep achieving, wanting whatever they want. And they say, I am the architect. I am the doer. Nobody's involved. Where is God? What does he do? So they are arrogantly dismissing the Lord. That is rajasic people. The sattvic people, we say, are those, they do their karma. They do as per their dharma with the right bhavana. And what is the bhavana or the feeling? They don't arrogate that act to themselves. They rather offer it as an oblation to the Lord. So they do their part and they invoke the thought of the higher, or they invoke the higher thought just to keep their ahankar or ego at check. That is being sattvic. So if I were to believe that there is some external factor that is constantly going to define my life, I am being tamasic. I need to do my part. So what produces the fruit is my action, my dharma, my karma. My duty as per what my dharma means, what my nature is, what is demanded of me. So if I do that, that alone gives me the fruits of karma phala. No God out there is dishing out anything favorable or unfavorable. He doesn't have any moods that determines my future. So then we said God has got nothing to do with what is happening. So let's understand that very clearly. God does not influence my fate in any way. Like electricity, no way determines how much light should be shed onto me. It is based on the luminosity of the bulb. If it is 10 watts, the electricity will ensure only 10 watts is shed on me. If it's a 100-watt bulb, the electricity doesn't decide. It's a bulb. There's any characteristics of a bulb. So the nature of your action is an ordinary, mediocre, or extraordinary. It depends on you, not the Atman, not the self. So that we understand. So in that context, surrendering to anything unknown is not acceptable. You should not blindly surrender or follow, especially in areas of ignorance where you don't know what these planets, stars, or streaks in my palm, or anything, or Vastu, or any of those schools of thought, as you said. They also interestingly, they also call themselves the Shastras, science, Vastu Shastra. They also call it Shastra, but they are denounced by Vedanta. It's the highest school of thought. All right. So coming back to the text, he compares the life to a weed or to a corn, which the mantra says, Pachate, the corn decays, corn dies, refers to the five metamorphic changes in life that we go through. The five metamorphic changes are birth, growth, disease, decay, and death. So all of us are subjected to disease. All of us will be subjected to decay. We are all decaying in stages, isn't it? Whether you like it or not, there are only two types of people in the Bhagavad Gita, he says. You know, Vasantama, who are they? There are two types of people in the world. Bhagavad Gita says. Can you guess? You have to read my mind there.
Those who know the truth.
No, no, no. The context is disease and decay. Disease, decay, death. So the five changes: birth, growth, disease, decay, death. This is a fact of life, right? In the context, the Gita says there are two types of people. Very, very interesting and very point blank, they say. Any idea, Vasantama?
No. One who, I feel the one who knows that he's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And one,
So all of us know we are going to die.
and
Do we not know?
that is the truth. That two
Okay.
types of
And then,
people, and one who lives a life of as though there is no end to his life.
okay, intelligent guess. But in the context, what the Gita says is there are two types of people. One who are gone, second yet to go. That's all. So we are all in the yet to go category. We have got the boarding pass yet not boarded. That's all. One set of people have embarked. Other set of people are yet to embark.
Ready
Let's
for
accept.
but
Ready. We have to. How ready are we? And we must always be ready because we don't know when the time is going to come.
yes,
Isn't it? So we must be packed and ready. Pack what?
nothing.
Nothing we can take with us. What are we holding on? What are we building?
Only we can leave our good deeds. That's the only packing we can.
Correct. Absolutely. So life. So look at the tone. Now you understand the context. What Nachiketa is telling his father. Life is so short. And why are you holding on to your individualistic, egoistic actions? Why are you stooping down to adharmic ways and means? Why can't you live up to what the Purve, what our forefathers have done? What have they done? If you remember in the introduction, did we not uh, in the initial part we said, didn't we? Who is the father of who is Nachiketa's grandfather? Vajashravas. Vajashravas was the father of Vajashravasaha. Vajashravasaha is the father of Nachiketa. So when Nachiketa is referring to his forefathers, he's reminding him of his father. So the word Vajam means food, and Shravaha means one who has become famous. So the Nachiketa's grandfather had the name Vajashravas, means one who became famous for doing charity. He was a great giver. He was Annadata, a man who had done great sacrifice. So when Nachiketa is telling, behave and act like your forefathers, he's reminding him of his father. Why stoop down to a dharma? Because of your condition by delusion and attachment. These are the two primary reasons one holds on to his pockets of wealth. My wealth. I am the architect. You hold on to it. It's your delusion. It is your childish attachment to it. You don't want to part with it. If you part with pittance, which is what he is trying to criticize Nachiketa for his father. So look at the ability of Nachiketa to discriminate between dharma and adharma. So how your forefathers, how have consider how others have acted now refers to all the great men, how the great sages, how the holy men have acted. You act accordingly. So it's an emotional appeal. Nachiketa is giving an emotional appeal to his father. There is a reference in the third chapter of the Gita, where Lord Krishna appeals to Arjuna, where he says, Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim asthita janakadayaha loka sangrahamevapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. Chapter 3, 20th verse, where Lord Krishna is appealing to Arjuna. He says, verily by action alone, Janaka and others had attained perfection. Janaka Adayaha, others, many others, and Janaka have attained perfection through karma, because Arjuna is abandoning karma. So he is being told, you act just like Janaka and others have attained perfection through karma. Even Loka Sangrahamevapi, even with an eye for the welfare of the world, you should perform karma. So he's trying to appeal to him, and you should do this, if not for yourself, for the sake of others, for Loka Sangraha. So the appeal is that you work for a larger good. Check your nature of actions. Like corn decays and dies, corn is born again. This cycle of your karma is going to go on. You're going to incur the karma and it's going to be carried forward. Why are you stooping to such adharmic ways and means due to attachment? Behave, or rather look up to your forefathers and raise your standard of giving. Life is too short. Again, remember the famous words of Bhajagovindam. Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tattvajjivita matishaya chapalam. Life is like a drop of water on a lotus leaf, extremely unstable. Vidhivyadhya abhimana grastam lokam shokah tam chasamastam. The entire world is suffering, he says. World is consumed with disease and conceit. So true. 7th mantra, please.
वैश्वानरः प्रविशत्यतिथिर्ब्राह्मणो गृहान् तस्येतां शान्तिं कुर्वन्ति हरवैवस्वतोदकम्.
a Brahmin guest enters the house like Vaishwanara, like fire. They fetch water to quieten him. O Vaivasvata, fetch water. Vaivasvata is the son of Vivaswan, the sun. Refers to, who is this? Kadrima, you seem to be knowing who Vaivasvata is.
No, Guruji, I just smiled because the moment you enter somebody's house, they offer water. I was thinking that I'm already cool and why people are offering me water.
No. You wait. So the son of Vivaswan, the sun, refers to
Sun God.
yeah. But who is the son of sun god? S-O-N or S-U-N?
S-U-N.
Huh? Who
Sun,
is the S-O-N of S-U-N?
S-O-N.
Who is the S-O-N of S-U-N? Any idea?
No, Guruji.
Refers to Lord Yama. Okay, Lord Yama is being referred here when he says, "Oh, Vaivas, fetch water." So now the story progresses, as it were, from the previous mantra, and there's a sudden jump. The story is, in the previous mantra, Nachiketa is talking to his father, and in the next mantra, Nachiketa is entering. A Brahmin guest enters the house. Whose house? Yama's house. So this is inferred. So Nachiketa has left his home and has entered the domain of death. Why? He kept to his father's word. When his father said, "Unto death thou thee," he kept to his word and he entered. Oh, is it? Some of the intelligent minds here may be questioning, how is it possible that Nachiketa with his physical body would go to the domain of death? Whose intelligence head is in asking such questions? I'm not in any way sarcastic when I say the next name who, but Harish, did that doubt come into your mind? How is it possible Nachiketa with his physical body went to Lord of Death?
Yes.
Don't tell me, Harish. You thought so? But how do you make a rational sense of that?
No, there was no rationale actually. It was just a silly thought.
No, it is possible. But how do we rationalize it? Well, even if the thought comes, if we were to ask, how do we rationalize that Lord Yama with his physical body went to Yamaloka, that is the world of hell, to meet the Lord of Death?
I'm not sure, Guruji.
Sir, it is just a story, sir. So therefore, in story, anything is possible, isn't it? So we have to take it as a story, that's all. It is not possible in this physical world that one is transported. Because philosophically, as we understand, hell and heaven are not places in a geographical existence, but there are only pure mental states one experiences. So one could be going through a hell of a life or going through a phase of life where everything is so pleasant, everything is so blissful, blessed, is all nothing but our karma phala that we are experiencing. Punya or papa, hell and heaven are only states of your mind, how you process whatever that you're experiencing. Mark my words, huh? Hell and heaven are not that you're being subjected to. Amitama, you get that? Hell and heaven are not what you're being subjected to. What you're being subjected to is your
Hari Om, Guruji. To our
hell.
thoughts only.
No. Hell and heaven
They're not good.
are your experiences now, right?
Yep.
I may be going through a difficult phase. No, absolutely. They are not a geographical place. It's the experiences that you're going through now. You may be going through a very challenging phase of life, or you may be going through a very blessed phase of life where there's nothing to complain about. So it is what to which I'm saying, hell and heaven are not the experiences that you're being subjected to, but rather it is a state of your mind.
Yes, sir.
What do I mean by that?
So heaven and hell are essentially a reflection of your condition right now. Like you said, it is our state of mind. So you can make a heaven of hell, you can make a hell of heaven. Yeah.
So even if things are going very well with you in your life, you could be in a state of mind where you would not be contented, where you would be miserable, where you would be over desirous, over ambitious, and you can always keep complaining at life. Why this, why that? Or you can be going through a difficult phase of life and you say, I use it as an opportunity to struggle and grow and shine. I want to be polished. I need this rough phase of life where I will come out hard. So the hell and heaven are defined by your mindset, not what you're physically being subjected through. That's why they say hell and heaven are states of your mind. And you can make a heaven out of hell or a hell out of heaven. Isn't it?
Yes,
Though
sir.
we can always say that it's our own karmas that put us through difficult moments or pleasant times, but we should not take it. You can take it literally or go one step ahead and say it is defined by how I process it in my head. So it's only poetic that Nachiketa enters the house. I'll explain why he says like fire, but he enters the house refers to Lord Yama's house. So the story goes that when he reached the board of Lord Yama's house, Lord Yama was not there. So he waits. Nachiketa waits at the portico of death. He waits there for 3 days and 3 nights. Because it was that culture those days. If there was the main man in the house was not there, you wouldn't enter the house. So even being a boy, a Brahmin boy, stood at the gates. And he put himself through a self-imposed discipline of fasting. He did not take anything which was perhaps offered. He did not take, he was fasting for 3 days and 3 nights because Lord Yama was not there. Now the question is, was it necessary for him to fast for 3 days and 3 nights? What is the significance of that in the story? RPG. Our job is to rationalize. Story is one thing, but what is the significance?
I think it goes back to the perhaps qualities of one who's deserving of this. So that the tapas, the sacrifice that he makes, I don't know if that's the symbolism inherent in not fasting, that in order to be in the house, let's say, of your guru, you have to be willing to practice a level of tapas, of sacrifice, and the fasting symbolizes that tapas. Perhaps.
Spot on. No, your rational thought is spot on. In fact, perhaps, it is an act of self-control, an act of a highest level of self-discipline. So an act of self-control and self-discipline is perhaps a prerequisite, a requirement, an act of tapas before you even are blessed by the guru. Before you have a dialogue of this higher wisdom, you need to live a life of self-control, an adhikari. That makes one worthy to receive the Brahma Vidya. So beautifully that concept is slipped in by when the story is being created. The author, he says, this boy fasted for 3 days and 3 nights. He didn't take anything, just to convey the essential requirement that a sadhak must lead a life of self-control. Opposite of self-control is establishing an incessant sense contact, a constant contact with the world. Perhaps I would like to ask a question for you all to ponder and come back with an answer next week, or we can even discuss it now if we have time. I think we have little time left. What is the difference between sense contact and sense control? What is the difference between sense contact and sense control at various levels of your personality? How does it express at various levels? The first is at the material level. What is the impact of self-control or sense contact and sense control at the material, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual? You got the question, RPG? If you can please repeat.
Yeah. So how does, or explain the nuance between sense contact and sense control at the 5 levels: material, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual.
Right. So what happens at the material level, all the levels with reference sense contact, and it's if you practice self-control at all levels, what is the points of comparison? I think this can be a question for you all to ponder and come back, so that you have given enough thought. It's not something we would be able to do justice. So it needs to be pondered. So we'll take up the question the next satsang. But the significance of self-control and self-discipline is essential, is paramount before you receive this spiritual wisdom. In fact, a person who leads a life of sense contact or sense indulgence, understood to that extent, is unfit for higher study. It means one who doesn't practice tapas, he is unfit. Yes, Rajima, what are your thoughts? You have posted something directly to me. No harm in sharing any thoughts. If anybody has any thoughts to share on this, we can, but it perhaps will also give line of thought for others to think. RPG, I thought you also want to say something. I'll come to you. Yes, Rajima.
Guruji, is it receipt, reaction, and response in the 3 levels?
In what context are you saying, Ma?
In sense contact and sense, the question that you asked, Guruji.
Can you connect these three to the question, please?
Guruji, that is explained in your tabular form that you had done maybe a couple of years ago.
Couple of years ago.
Or maybe, I don't know when, Guruji.
No, your memory is sharp. Mine is not that sharp.
I'm just
But-
guessing. Guruji.
No. And what I mean is, now I'm trying to connect receipt, reaction, response. How are you connecting it to these two? Just to make, hope we understand you clearly. In that sense, I'm asking.
So how do you contact, at a material level, how do you contact it? What is your, how do you receive it? How do you react to it? And how you respond to it?
See, the question is, how do you differentiate between sense contact and sense control at various levels of your personality? I'm wondering, how can receipt, reaction, response fit into this context, ma? I'm struggling to fit it in. That's why I'm trying to read your mind, how we are getting them into this. If that may help you to classify, perhaps if you say receipt, reaction, response at the material level, how do you help to differentiate between the two? I'm not able to see the point. You get it, ma?
Yes, Guruji.
I'm not able to get that. I think unless you say receipt, reaction, response, we spoke about it when we talk of yajna, the 12 yajnas we spoke about, in the 4th chapter of the Gita, there is a mention of the 12 yajnas. That's where we spoke about how you convert receipt into worship, how to convert your reaction to worship, how to convert your response into worship. That is in a slightly different context. Maybe you're referring to that, It comes from the chapter 4, verses 20 to 25 or 26. Those set of verses that talk of these 12 yajnas. How he converts every action into receipt, reaction, response, That could be a little different, okay?
Okay, Guruji.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
RPG, any thoughts?
Hariom Guruji. Yeah, I think I think it would take a little bit of time to think about, in detail. It reminds one of the King of Persia in the poem by Theodore Tilton. He I think in each one of these categories, he had some contact, right? Material wealth, emotional with his wife. He was physically involved with his courtiers and all this, but he had that sense contact, but he always knew how far that could go, right? He never got caught up in it. He enjoyed, but he didn't relish. He didn't have this lingering thirst for the senses he was given. That was that's the first thing that came to mind, because that poem is a great example of the King of Persia is involved, trains of camels, the courtiers, and he's the star of the show, but yet he never gets carried away with this sense contact. He always maintains a certain personal decorum and doesn't let himself get carried away. So that was just an example that I thought of, but it would take a little bit more work to in each one of the levels.
Yeah. Just to keep everybody on to the context which RPG is talking, there's a poem by Theodore Tilton. The poem is titled "Even This Shall Pass Away." Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that, the author or the poet tries to portray the picture of the king, right? Who through various phases of life, how he maintains attitude that how impermanent life is. So he's relating to it, he's contacting wealth, he is in the midst of all the fame and name, and goes through phase of at the verge of his death, and he gets a message by the heavenly ray which falls on the ring where the maxim was carved, even this shall pass away. Very poetic, very beautiful. So I think you all could read that poem just to get to the context. But sense contact here is being portrayed as a negative. Self-control is a positive. Because you use the word sense contact and said how he maintained a very healthy sense contact. So in that sense, I'm just qualifying it. Right, Ji. So please, I would not further dwell on the question. Think in the lines how it would help you in your, obviously all it concern for your spiritual sadhana. So if you practice self-control, how is it detrimental to you at all levels of your personality for your spiritual growth? And how, if you practice self-control, it helps you at all levels of your personality. But we're seeing it at every level. Okay. So the self-imposed discipline of withdrawing from the senses, because Nachiketa fasts for 3 days and 3 nights. And it is been highlighted in our Hindu culture, in the Shastras, that how a Brahmana should be received. A Brahmana is one who is, when you say Brahmana, means a man of highest sattvic nature, a highly evolved person, a man of highest maturity, a man of culture, a man of purity, a man of righteousness, is highly respected and revered in our culture. So to have a Brahmin boy waiting and not being received by the head of the family or the host is considered highly disrespectful. May not be, you may say, you came without telling me. You should take prior appointment and visit. If you come without telling me, you wait. That's your problem. That we would perhaps react today, but those days it was not. A Brahmin boy, in fact, a Brahmana is said to be like a double-edged sword. That's why a Brahmin boy, in fact, here he says he's entered the house like fire. There's a deeper meaning to it. A fire can be worshipped. A fire is in fact worshipped. If it's kept under control, if it is used rightly, it becomes a symbol of worship. But the very same fire, if it is uncontrolled, can burn down the house, can cause catastrophic destruction. So the fire has to be dealt very delicately. So the double-edged sword is a Brahmana who is compared to fire. A Brahmana can clear the forest of samsara for you. We are caught up in a forest of samsara. So a Brahmana can clear all that samsara so that you can lead your spiritual path. He paves a way. He creates a path for you, getting you out of samsara. Or if you don't deal with the Brahmana, he can curse you and destroy you. Means you don't heed to the advices given by the Guru. The Guru will not be interested in you because you want to hold on to your individuality, your ego and arrogance. The Guru is not going to dance to your tunes. You got to come out of your comfort zone to serve the cause. So it's a double-edged sword. So at the end of the 3rd day, now all this we are inferring. So at the end of the 3rd day, when Lord Yama comes, they start drawing attention to Yama. Hey, fetch some water quickly, so that we need to appease, we need to pacify. Please rush, come quickly to pacify, bring some water. What? Not to give him to drink. The water is how you receive a Brahmana. You wash the feet of a man of wisdom. So bring him water to receive him, give him a seat to wash his feet. So it is symbolic of the culture that we all, of the Vedic culture that we have to respect and abide. Even today, some swamis, they are received. When you receive them, you wash their feet. So it is symbolic. Perhaps it's being exaggerated here, that if you don't receive a guest, you might incur sin in the right spirit, the right bhavana, the right attitude. So one other interpretation, a Brahmin guest enters the house like fire. What else can the fire symbolize? A Brahmin associated with fire. What does it symbolize? Hariji, are you there, sir? Sekuji says knowledge and wisdom.
I assume that it is the intense need to acquire knowledge,
Okay.
insatiable knowledge. He just wants to, that he has taken so much of pain to come all over. He has left the entire family.
It is not a pain. It is such a pleasure
Pain.
to leave everything behind.
Yeah, pain
It
in
is
the sense that
it's a pain. It's a pain to be with them. It's a pleasure to be without them. Just
no,
a little
he has
clarification.
No, he has. I meant he has taken so much of effort to leave the entire thing. All comfort he has left, and he has come over here to attain the knowledge. That is the fire.
All right. Okay.
The burning
Not
desire.
wrong. Correct. The burning desire. Right. Not wrong. In fact, the word fire represents it's the intellect that is fired to reach the goal. The fire refers to the goal, and the intellect is fired to the goal. Now, we also have the goal, but are we fired up to the goal? Means, is there that commitment? Is there that energy, the drive to reach the goal? So the fire refers to the Vaishvanara. Vaishvanara refers to that, the inner fire. It's not the Vaishvanara. In fact, in the prayer we chant, no, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva. I know it is time for sapad. Especially if you have fasted. I've been fasting yesterday night. So I'm very hungry now. So I'll have to chant prayer now only in the class. So we say Vaishvanara. What is the Vaishvanara? Vaishvanara is not the external fire. So the Brahmin boy enters the house like fire. The fire is not the flame that you ignite. It is the inner fire. So again, there is a hidden implication to the Vaishvanara, which is the fire within, which is that urge or the desire, which is, as somebody has commented, it's the mumukshaptva, the desire for liberation, that the force with which you want to reach your goal. And what does your mind do? SR? Mumukshatva, or the fire, is to reach a goal. And to that, what does your mind do?
It's a fuel, Guruji. The fire is a fuel. The burning desire or the fire, which we are mentioning here, is like fuel to lead your, I mean to say, reach your goal. You require energy, you require force. I mean to say,
Too scientific, sir, you are. I didn't think of this at all. So you
unfortunately,
need the
being an
fuel.
engineer, I get
That's
all
what,
the
that's all
words.
engineering mind. So what I was getting at, you were right. The nature of the mind is, what does the mind do? The nature of the mind is it takes you away from your goal. So how fired you are to the goal is to keep sure that your mind is always kept in check, that you don't fall a prey to the mind's nature to take you away from the goal. So we will find enough reasons why not to pursue the goal. So the intellect is so fired that it will not fall a prey to the mind. It will take the mind along with it to the goal. But if the intellect is not fired, one falls a prey to the mind, which keeps running here and there. It keeps running behind other desires, isn't it?
Very good analogy.
Right, sir. No, yours also is good, sir. You use the fuel of the mind, which is to burn the desires and then propel the desire to get to the goal. It's like a rocket, no? The rocket can reach its goal, outer space, only by burning the fuel.
Yeah.
The fuel, it has to offload it, burn it, offload it, drop it, and then shoot off. These examples are always very beautiful if you are able to get the hidden meaning. No? Right. So story goes that Nachiketa has reached the domain of a death. He has waited at the portico of death for 3 days and 3 nights. Lord Yama comes and he is told to pacify the fiery young Brahmin boy. And very soon, Yama, the Lord of Death, seeks pardon from Nachiketa and he says, since you waited 3 days and 3 nights, I give you 3 boons. And the story gets interesting. But when we come back, please ponder on the question, the difference between self-control and self-sense contact at all levels of your personality: material, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. We'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.